All right, today we are covering the Archicad 28 new features.
All right, thank you, Matt. Hello, everybody. My name is Willem Viviers, the Gauteng and surrounding area representative for TotalCAD Solutions Center. So, welcome to this user group meeting. Let me just share my screen quickly. Right, so today we'll explore some of the exciting new features and improvements of Archicad 28. So for our session, we'll be working with this hillside house sample project. Sorry, can everybody just mute themselves? So we'll be using this hillside house sample project for this session. You can find that on the Graphisoft site should you want to have a look at it. Right, so Graphisoft focused on smart design in our core product, Archicad, and these are some of the improvements and features in the smart design category as shown on the screen. We will be covering only some of them, such as keynotes, openings in roofs, distance guides, and the AI visualizer. Let's start off with the first one, keynotes. So keynotes are standardized annotations used in architectural and construction documents to label and describe certain project elements, which ensures clarity and consistency. So by referencing detailed notes listed separately, keynotes reduce visual clutter, enabling the architect to communicate specifications clearly without any clutter or overwhelming the design views or the drawings. Understanding the value of this functionality that Graphisoft has introduced this keynote feature in Archicad, integrating this essential workflow with a centralized project-wide database, which streamlines annotation. It enables users to label any project element systematically, and it adds detailed notes, which ensures compliance, enhancing the coordination across design teams by connecting visual elements with written specifications. Keynotes improve project communication and keep drawings clear and uncluttered and organized. So managing keynotes is streamlined through the keynote palette, where users can easily create new annotations and add relevant details, such as the key, title, a description, and a reference. So keynotes can be placed in the project through labels and text through auto text. As you can see there. And then keynotes can be placed within the project through labels or the auto text, but also on the layouts, users can add a keynote legend that contains all the information that's already set up in the project. This legend is editable and will automatically update with any changes made. So it gives us some consistency across the project documentation. Let's have a look at the workflow. So the workflow typically is centered around the keynote palette, and it follows the basic steps of creating keynotes and adding the data to it, placing the keynote labels in the viewpoint. We'll save that view with the specific keynotes, and then last, we'll add the keynote legend onto the layouts to the saved view. So let's have a look at another example. So to create a brand new keynote, we'll simply click the plus button in the palette. Each keynote consists of a key, and no two keys can be the same of two different keynotes. So the key is a flexible and usually a descriptive label which is tailored to the content of each keynote, and it can help with internal organization and easy identification of keynotes. The title, the title is more a descriptive label, and we can describe certain elements, which is informational specifications, which will be pulled through on the legend that we'll look at later as well. Then lastly, the reference is used to specify external details which is relevant to the keynote, such as reference numbers. So now that we have this new keynote created, we can also efficiently organize them by drag and dropping them into the appropriate folders as required. As you can see, we are able to create folders with subfolders to easily organize all of these keynotes. And this is particularly helpful for large-scale projects with numerous annotations, and it will be beneficial when creating the keynote legend later in this workflow. So to place a keynote, I can simply double-click the keynote in the palette, and I can place it as we have in the past. All right, just need to make a change here. We can also place multiple labels by selecting multiple elements. Now, normally we can also use this place label button, which does the same. However, if I use the internal door label, for example, selecting multiple elements, this button now says place on selection. And when I do that, you'll note that it's labeled more than one element at a time. Right, you can see that the annotation is placed in a simple Archicad label, and the difference here is where the information is coming from. So, similar to adding auto text, I can simply select the keynote, start editing, and we have a new button which allows us to insert keynotes. And in this specific case, it's the exterior wall. And over here, I can define what information I would like to add. After adding the information, I can also change the frame. If I go into the settings, under the text label, if the frame is switched on, I will be able to specify new shapes. Previously, we had rectangle available. Now, additionally, we have the circle, rounded rectangle, and the pull option with our labels. Furthermore, frames can also be set to a specific width and height, which will give you the flexibility and consistency to create the exact label you need. So with the layout open, we can now place a legend containing this information connected to the keynotes by clicking the Place Legend button. So the legend is coded as a GDL element, and it can be found in the object library. You can also adjust the keynote's visibility, the legend, through many settings available in the object settings. We have filtering options, which fields and some associated settings to that. Something I will point out a little bit later is we have a display folder data option as well here, which is linked to the folder structure that we set up with our keynotes. So we are able to choose whether it shows all the keynotes in the project or specifically only to this layout instead of seeing all the keynotes in the project. Right, so if a change is made, as you can see the label that we've placed there already, if any changes are made, for example, you will note that all labels will consistently update throughout the whole project and have peace of mind that there aren't any labels that was skipped. So after following a keynote workflow from the beginning to the end, you'll probably notice that a big part of the workflow is centered around this keynote palette. So in summary, the keynotes can be created and organized in the top part of the palette. A folder structure can help organize these keynotes and projects with many keynotes. And this folder structure will come in handy when preparing the keynote legend. The 4 pieces of keynote information can be managed in the bottom part of the palette. And this is where you'll see the key, the title, description, and the reference of the selected keynote. Then the 2 placement buttons assist you to placing labels and legends faster. It uses the place label button when preparing the documentation. And also, of course, don't forget that we are able to use this to place label on multiple elements at once. And both buttons, place label and place legend, can be used as favorites. So be sure to create favorites required. So a part of the workflow that we have yet to talk about is the Excel import and export capabilities. Let's have a look at that. For a comprehensive keynoting experience, Archicad supports exporting your keynotes to an Excel spreadsheet, which allows for a flexible approach and managing keynotes by enabling external editing outside of Archicad, which facilitate bulk editing capabilities, especially the crucial for large type. It's a seamless collaboration with stakeholders, as well as enabling efficient review, updates, and even manage of keynote information directly in Excel. Let's have a look at how we could do this. So over here, we have the export button. Begin exporting it, where we have the option of all the keynotes or only the selected ones. There we go. So you'll note that the type, key, title, description, the reference, and the folder path will be listed in here. And when we make some changes to this one here, why doesn't it want to save? Now let's see if it's saved. I'll import that. I'll overwrite the existing, append or skip options as well. And then when I open, you'll note that it had been updated as per manufacturer, done in Excel. So overall, Archicad's Keynote workflow enhanced project documentation by providing a streamlined method for managing annotations in a central project level database, ensuring accurate and synchronized project documentation from the beginning to the end with Keynotes, now integrated in Archicad. Next, we're going to have a look at openings in roofs. So the versatile opening tool was introduced to Archicad, enhancing modeling and managing, also documenting openings within a BIM project. So since its introduction, openings have supported the creation of and modeling, as well as the coordination of openings. So originally available for walls, slabs, beams, and meshes, we are now able to place them into roofs as well by selecting the opening tool. So this flexibility expanded to include roofs, which was a highly requested development. These openings can be placed on a single or a multi-plane roof. And with improved input method with slanted walls and roofs. Just want to note that if I do split this into single plane roofs, you will note that the opening is still there and it's still associated to two individual elements. So it is intelligent in that way. So let's place an opening on the roof of this hillside house. So when hovering over the roof plane with the opening tool, it detects the plane, making the placement of the opening simple and visual. We can also change between the shape of the hole, between rectangle, circular, polygonal, as well as set the orientation, vertical, horizontal, or aligned with the angle of the roof. I can then reposition this. And we can also manipulate it to and make changes as necessary. As easy as that. So just like doors and windows, openings have a 2D representation linked to the 3D element. So by default, the 2D symbol of the aligned openings are usually placed on the cut part of the roof. And this can be adjusted by choosing the projected option, which will indicate, regardless of the cutting height, it will show this hole on plan. So this tool can be used, for example, placing a hole for ventilation shafts, elevator shafts, or even chimneys. So for consistency and correct representation, let's place a hole in the roof for this chimney. So first I will place it. I could also then select it, set the diameter to the right size, and finally I can position it. It's easy as that. So with this improved opening tool, the workflow becomes more streamlined and allow you to create holes of any shape, size in a roof quickly and easily. Next, we will look at distance guides. Distance guides was introduced in previous Archicad version as an experimental feature, and accurate and efficient positioning of elements is crucial when designing, and more dedicated tools available to help with these tasks, the easier it is to develop the project. So with the integration of this distance guides, the latest Archicad is equipped with a powerful feature that assists element placing on the go. Let's have a look at it. So to use distance guides on your Archicad project, you need to make sure that the distance guides is active. And as you could see, the distance guide feature shows dynamic distances from the surrounding elements. They can guide you when you're placing new elements or repositioning existing ones. So for example, let's place a new wall over here. As you could see. So they also speed up your workflow in the possibility of changing the length of walls or even beams. So when I select the wall, you'll note that I'm able to manipulate this value, and it will obviously update and change the geometry, in this case, the length of the wall. So the feature is available on floor plans when using grids, walls, beams, columns, objects, doors, and windows. The guides measure distance from the selected element to these other element types, and the priority for which element the guide will connect to is determined according to this hierarchy system between elements, following the order as you see on screen. So, for example, when placing an element with grids visible, the grids will measure the distance, the guides will measure the distance to the grids since they are the first element in this hierarchy system. So to make the distance guides measure to different elements, we can either adjust what is visible on the screen by zooming or adjusting the guide arrow. Let's have a look at this in practice. When a model element is selected, the distance guide appears. We can either change the lag combination or zoom in and out to see the guides measure the distance to a different element according to what is visible on the screen. So as you can see, the moment it's linked to this guide and to this grid. Here the guide instantly measures distance to the element higher in this hierarchy, as we can see. If I zoom in, leaving the grid outside of the zoomed area, the guide fills the next element with a hierarchy to measure the distance to. So in this case, to the wall. To have a better control which element the distance guide measured to, we can now change the layer combination example to a simple floor plan. Now it hasn't got any guides on plan, and it will then ignore what's not visible on screen. So we can also manually modify the reference point of these distance guides. So as you can see, even though the guides snap to elements automatically, I can still have the flexibility to adjust it manually. And I could define the value there. It will essentially move the element according to values defined. So now that we understand how these distance guides find the correct elements to measure to, let's see how we can define which part of that element that distance guide should measure to. So, for example, whether it's the center or the end point. In the guides menu, below these other options, you'll note that we have either to the reference lines or to the edges. Currently, it's up to the edges. So I will change that to the reference line. You'll see instantly automatically adjust according to the selected viewpoint. And now I can easily update the position of that column by defining the distance guide value from the other column, and it repositions the column accordingly. So when placing a new element, the distance guides are dynamic and change with the movement of the cursor. So to edit the dimension value while placing, we'll basically just use the tab key. It will toggle between all those values. So let's say from the left should be a meter, from the wall in other words, and from the bottom 800. And it places them as easy as that. It uses the same process as with the column. Let's have a look at another example. So when editing walls or beams, the logic of distance guides varies depending on which distance guide is being adjusted. So the perpendicular distance guide value will essentially move the wall or beam to a specific location. Alternatively, we could also change the length of the wall by changing the appropriate value. So a task that's much easier to execute with this feature, specifically placing doors or even windows into a wall. So similar to the column settings, we also have the door to either the endpoints or to the center. So if I want to place this door from the corner, I would rather use to the endpoints, use tab, specify the value, and I'll have a lot less clicks than what we had before. Incorporate this powerful feature into your design process and efficiently place and move elements with precision. Whether you are placing walls, columns, beams, doors, windows, etc., the distance guides will offer a streamlined workflow and save you time and clicks. Next, let's have a look at the AI Visualizer. Now, the AI Visualizer was an experimental feature in Archicad 27, and production and updates will be ending at the end of 2024, still available to Archicad 27. However, this AI Visualizer presents a cutting-edge tool designed to generate inspiring 3D visualizations during the early architectural design or conceptual stages. Stable diffusion technology integrated into Archicad, the AI Visualizer can generate photorealistic images or artistic drawings from a simple mass model or more complex models even. You can also customize your concepts with prompts, adjusting the creativity of the AI, or let the AI's imagination run wild. It also uses the latest available generative AI imaging technology in this workflow. So right where we need it the most in the design process and communicating the design intent. So how do we begin? Let's first open the AI Visualizer palette by going to Window, Palettes, almost at the bottom. We can open this palette. So writing the prompt and adjust the settings, we will then click Generate. So if we just specify something very basic, an office building with a concrete and wood facade, I'm going to use the Generate button. I'd like you guys to see real time how it works. We will also dive into the details of how to write a prompt and adjust the settings next. So previous AI Visualizer was installed on your local machine, and depending on your computer specs will depend on how long it generates your images. Since Archicad 28, it's doing cloud computing, which means it's not using any of your local machine resources, which I think is great. Right. So the workflow, this will help us to make the most out of this tool and understand the workflow better. Using the AI visualizers usually begins with the creation of an initial model. This model can range from a simple shape to a detailed design even, serving as a foundational structure for the visualization process. If users wish to generate images based on prompts only, this step can be left out. Next, the AI visualizer generates an image by combining the model and the descriptive text, which results in a visual representation that reflects the given specifications, offering a variety of design alternatives from photorealistic images to even artistic sketches. And then finally, if needed, you can further define the generated image. This stage allows for the evaluation and development of the design idea, and it enables the designer or architect to iterate and enhance their concept, ultimately guiding them towards the most compelling solution. So let's break this workflow down and understand all the important concepts involved in each step. After you've prepared your conceptual model, the positioning of your 3D window has to be adjusted. This is important as the AI visualizer does not perceive the actual 3D model directly, but instead it identifies a snapshot of the model in that specific current state. So these snapshots must convey depth, perspective, and well-defined shapes for accurate results. Now, onto the most important part of the palette, the text prompt. Here, you need to provide context and describe the style and characteristics of the final image you'd like to see. You can try, for example, model office building with a city in the background prompt, or a realistic pencil drawing of a model office building. The AI understands simple, definitive prompts, so long and complex sentences are actually unnecessary, although I think feel free to experiment. So if you're unsure where to start, you can cover some key topics when preparing your prompt, such as visual style, where you will establish the overall visual aesthetics that will aim to achieve, for example, a photorealistic or a sketch-like or another visual approach. The architectural style, this could be a modern, classical, industrial, or any other architectural style that fits the vision of your project. The building type, where you can specify the type of building being designed, such as residential, commercial, industrial, and this will help AI tailor the visualization and the scale to the function. You can specify materials to be incorporated into the design. And finally, the environment, giving some surrounding context to the building. Now, onto the other settings. You can use the generate your AI images. So the AI visualizer palette includes a creativity slider, which is a parameter that adjusts how much creative freedom the AI has. So the higher the value result, more creative output, but may deviate more from the input shape defined, and lower values maintain the shape more strictly, but produce less creative results. When an AI generates images based on prompts, it uses a randomness to create the unique details of the image. This randomness ensures that even the same prompt can produce different images every time. So if you want to keep the same concept or style you achieve with a given prompt, but you want to, for example, change the angle of the view, you can use the lock result. This feature will lock the randomness and will enable you to try out other concept or styles of a result that you like from different angles, perhaps. And AI will give you a new and different result that mimics the style of the locked one, retaining a consistent style across different iterations. And lastly, let's talk about the resolution of these images generated by the AI visualizer. The default resolution is approximately 1024 by 1024 pixels. You can increase the default resolution by 4 times by activating this upscale image function before generating your images, giving you up to 4K resolution. It's important to note that this AI visualizer is not a rendering tool specifically, but an inspirational aid, which is designed to explore potential design alternatives creatively and effectively during the initial design stages of architectural design. So as I mentioned before, all the conceptual work is handled in the cloud, further simplifying the process, and you can find resources online in the AI Visualizer community group. Interesting. You can also apply the same strategies to your internal visuals. It helps you to prototyping, exploring multiple design options, and also combining several cabinet fronts and materials with different kitchen layouts even. So I have been playing around with it a bit, not as much as I'd like to though, but I found that it even does bedrooms and bathrooms just as well. Go have a look, test it out. Before we move on to the next topic, I'd like to just mention, guys, that the AI visualizer is only an Archicad 28 available on Archicad Collaborate subscription. Right, the next one that I'd like to look at is onboarding. So I think this is a great tool. When you go to help, you've got show or hide tool tips. Now, this makes it easy to hover over any tool in Archicad. It will give you a very small window giving you some idea of what it does in the video and some description. Or if I say show me more, you will note that it opens a larger one, and some of them might even have more than one page that you could have a look at it. All tools work like this. I think it's great for new users to get their way around and figure out which tool does what. In that same note, we have another one, says new in Archicad. So for you guys that's on Archicad 28 already, you may have seen this already, but I think this is great. It gives you an overview of some of the new features in Archicad. As you can see here, I can go through all of them. It gives me a little video of some of the new features and improvements. Right, something also that's new in Archicad 28, if we go to File, when Archicad's open or when Archicad's busy opening, you'll get this home screen. So the home screen is great for recent projects that we've always had in here, new open teamwork, although we now have something additionally, which is learning, as well as news. So all the latest information regarding Graphisoft news, upcoming events, competitions, etc. You will find it all in here. When we go to learning, you can specify what sort of skill level you are at. If I'm, let's say, an advanced user, I'd like to point out that you are able to do a Archicad 28 upgrade training online. I will just open this to give you an idea. Right, clients on SSA or Forward can get this for free. Just use your coupon code. All right. Last thing I'd like to touch on, guys, is some of you may not be aware, but we are now an authorized distributor of the CI tools in South Africa. These are add-ons to Archicad, which will assist with boosting efficiency and productivity. And we would like to mention that there are 16 tools available that does a whole lot of different things. I will quickly show this on our website after this presentation. However, now we have a new tool that helps with room fit outs. So our new fit out tool will help you quickly place several objects into a room. The tool needs a zone placed into a space. You open the tool and select the room type that you need, select the desired settings, and place with one click. If you need to move an element like the bed to another wall or snap to the wall, again, reducing the number of clicks to get those early concept design layouts completed. As you can see, the settings also shows different bed assemblies, what it should and should not include, etc. And once you're ready for the next stage, you can then convert this assemblies into components. You can see there that if I change the size of the door, I can also just update the zones and it will automatically adjust things accordingly. Also, we can break the assembly, allowing us to use each object separately, changing it to something else. So the flexibility is still available. So we've started with 3 spaces and have a few more rooms in mind, along with what the tool will look like in the future. We do want to hear back from you, please. And it's important to get your feedback so that we can allow and assist with developing accordingly. We are providing the CI tools in 3 different packages: Basic, Pro, or Premium. The Basic 2 tools, the Pro package with 5 tools, and the Premium package with all the tools. We are also happy to announce that we have reduced the pricing recently with the pricing on screen, and we will be updating our website very soon during the course of next week. So you may not see the new pricing here. Feel free to reach out to us should you want to inquire more. We value your feedback, so please, if you don't mind, we encourage you to take a moment, scan this QR code to complete a quick survey, which will allow us to assist with providing solutions specifically and typically to you with tools developed in future. Thank you.